We started out with the sunrise ceremony this morning, and we had 7 spiritual leaders from different places representing different peoples and regions of the Americas and even into the Pacific, because this is not just a local event, this is not a national event, it's an international event.
Well, International Indian Treaty Council has been working since 1977 at the United Nations. We were in the forefront of the adoption of the UN Declaration on Rights of Indigenous Peoples, which affirms Indigenous peoples' right to our lands, to our subsistence, to our traditional relationships with our traditional lands and resources, which are all under threat because of climate change.
One very important piece of putting this all together was making sure that Indigenous peoples from the local communities, that means the native peoples of the New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut areas, were aware that this march was going on, that other native peoples were going to be coming into these territories, and we wanted to be sure that those folks knew that this was happening and that we received that blessing and that permission from the community peoples to be here and to take part and have all these activities in their territories.
Well, I'll start back in 2001. We had the first Global Indigenous Peoples Summit on food sovereignty and right to food in Guatemala. And globally, Indigenous peoples identified at that time climate change as one of the biggest threats. And since that time, the UN has also said that climate change is the biggest threat, single threat to food sovereignty and the right to food of all peoples. So Indigenous peoples are in the front lines, as many people have noticed, from the Arctic to the desert to the mountain areas and everywhere, because of our close relationship to the earth and to our traditional foods. We see that threat and the impact.
We came from the Alberta tar sands to continue to spread the message, especially to American people that don't necessarily know that where they get their oil from is actually from our traditional territories.
And this is not just an Indian problem anymore. This is an everybody problem. If you breathe air and you drink water, this is about you. The International Indian Treaty Council does a lot of work in relation to the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. And I think IITC does a really great job of enforcing articles like Article 32, which talks about Indigenous peoples having the authority over the development on their traditional lands and territories.
And we're really looking forward to not just this event, but what's going to be developed after this event.
And to join with all other peoples that are concerned about the climate crisis, not just climate change, but are asking and demanding that world leaders take this seriously, that they put politics and economics aside and look at survival of our peoples, our future generations, and our lands and ecosystems today, now, not in the future.